What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the very first episode of the NBA Hounds podcast here for houndsports.com. Joining me are a couple new writers here for the website. Well, I guess I'm the fairly one who's mostly new because I left and came back. But the first one I got, his name is Connor. Connor, go ahead and say hi to everybody.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
And then the second one we have, you guys have probably seen him on the King's Court podcast with me before, and also the Bounce podcast where we also did the NBA where we tried it the first time. Alex Horvath. Alex, say what's up to everybody.
What's up, guys? How's everybody doing? Good to be back.
Good to be back. Good to be back. Great talking NBA sports again, even though the season is coming down to an end. But let's talk playoffs, guys. I mean, the playoffs are coming in very, very close, and we see that both East and West, so there is a battle for the 8th spot. So, I mean, let's start off with the Eastern Conference, the lower-level conference, the little brother conference. You know, who do you guys think is going to take that 8th seed, and do you even think they have a chance of getting anywhere being that 8th seed? So, who wants to take this one on first?
I'll go for it.
All right, go. Take it on, Connor.
Okay, well, I agree with you when you say that it's the lesser conference. Everybody knows that. But I do think that race for the 7th and 8th spots are in the East is a lot more interesting than the one in the West, because I think it's kind of universally understood that Oklahoma City will probably hold on to that spot in the West. Although if New Orleans can get healthy, I think they can make a run at it. But you know that they don't have much time left. If they're gonna do it, they need to do it. But anyway, in the East, I think it's so tight, and you know you have a lot of mediocre teams that normally wouldn't be in the playoffs that are you know kind of flirting with the idea of making it. Like just the other night, Charlotte beat Toronto, moved into the 7th spot. Last night they didn't play, and they fell to the 9th spot. So it's really interesting. I also think Indiana can make a run for it if they get Paul George back, like they're hoping they will. So yeah, I think those last 2 playoff spots in the East, I think it'll come down to Miami, Charlotte, and Indiana. I think Detroit is, you know, they've lost a couple games lately. I think they're just falling out of it. I don't really see Boston making a run at it. Just they've played well, but yeah, I think they dug too big of a hole to make it. So I think it'll be those 3 teams fighting for those 2 spots.
Alex?
All right. Well, I'm pretty sold on what 2 teams are going to get the 7th, 8th. I have Miami and Indiana, and taking up those last 2 spots. Detroit, you know, they lost 5 straight. I don't think they have enough time to recover for that. Charlotte, I looked at their schedule. They have 6 back-to-back games left, and 8 out of those 12 teams are playoff teams. Some of them including Clippers, Chicago, Atlanta, Houston, and Toronto. So, you know, they have a pretty tough schedule ahead of them. Indiana's been holding their ground without Paul George, and, you know, they're set to get him within the next week or so, and hopefully he can make some type of impact. And even if he doesn't, you know, Indiana's 20-16 in the Eastern Conference. You know, they can play with the best of them. They're not terrible at all, even without Paul George. And the Heat, I just think that, you know, it's pretty much impossible for them not to make the playoffs. I don't think, with the exception of Dwayne Wade, with his injury that 1 year, I don't think he's ever missed the playoffs in his entire career, even his rookie year. So I can definitely see them. Even they have Goran Dragic, Hassan Whiteside, Luol Deng is a nice player. They'll have a good chance. Boston, like Connor said, I don't think they'll be able to make it. You know, they have a lot of talent. Isaiah Thomas probably going to end up being 6th man of the year. I'm not sure if he qualifies for it, but that would be my pick if he's eligible.
He's eligible. He's definitely eligible. I still have Jamal Crawford winning 6th man of the year, though. Jamal Crawford, even though he's injured right now, he's still putting up great numbers. I think he's averaging 18 points, 3 assists. So I still have him as my 6th man of the year. That's my guy. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, well, Isaiah Thomas actually is averaging 20 and 6. So as far as numbers go, I definitely pick him. even
But
though Jamal Crawford is really good.
So for me, I have Charlotte getting in there. I just don't see how they don't make it. Kemba Walker's hoping to come back Wednesday against the Sacramento Kings. He's coming back off an injury. I just think with Miami, although they have the 8th spot, look at what they've been doing. Although they came back against the Wizards, they still put themselves in a hole where they're at one point down by 20 points. Hassan Whiteside, I mean, he's having a fantastic year, but can he keep this going even if they make it into the playoffs? He's injured right now with a rolled ankle. They're playing Luol Deng at that 4 spot because they have no more Chris Bosh. So they're just flustered with too many injuries. Although I like Luol Deng, he's injured right now with a inner thigh injury. Again, like I said, Hassan Whiteside with the ankle. Then you never know when Wade's going to play just because of how injured he always is. And if they do want him healthy, they want him healthy in the playoffs, they're going to have to rest him. But the bench that they have, although it's stepping up right now, will they step up continuing on with the pressures on to make the playoffs? I don't see that happening. Indiana, Roy Hibbert's going through that second half slump again right now. And with David West not playing up to his all-star caliber level that he is used to playing, he's not doing it this year. The age, I think, is starting to finally get to him. George Hill, you just can't put the ball in his hands and hope he does Paul George things. I don't see him doing anything like that. People that are battling below them, as in Boston, they just don't. I don't see them having a fighting chance, even if they did make that 8th spot. I mean, Isaiah Thomas coming off the bench with Marcus Smart, Evan Turner, who's almost averaging a triple-double with the numbers that he's putting up. Like any given night, he's a triple-double threat. But you just can't hope on those players making the playoffs. And with a team like Boston, do they really want to? I mean, that's the thing. Like, do you really want to be an 8th seed and lose out on being in the lottery? That just doesn't look like it works out for them. So for me, I see definitely Charlotte making it. If Paul George comes back and they have a strong feeling that he comes back, I don't know if they do or not, but if they have that strong feeling that he does, they should definitely try their best to hold on, and I think they have a good chance to. So I have Charlotte and Indiana going in. I think Miami's going to start sliding their way out because, I mean, the injury bug is just getting to them. What about the West, guys? So from the West, you have the Thunder, the New Orleans Pelicans, or the Phoenix Suns battling really for that 8th spot. And go ahead, Connor. Who do you think's going to hold on to get that last playoff spot?
Well, like I said a minute ago, I think Oklahoma City is going to hold it the rest of the way. If New Orleans gets healthy in time, with still with some games left, I think they can make a serious push for it. But it's just when are they going to get healthy? I mean, Anthony Davis is in and out of the lineup. Ryan Anderson's barely played all year. I believe he's supposed to come back though.
No,
So,
he's still in there. He doesn't have a timetable. He said he's still trying to get motion in that leg. So I don't know what's going on with him. He's still out. And then Anthony Davis just recently returned. So they're still pushing.
yeah, they have. I like a lot of things that they do. I think Drew Holiday is supposed to come back as well. Tyreek Evans played very well lately. I liked the trade to get Quincy Pondexter. I know he's not going to put up a whole lot of stats, but I like him as a player. He's a good defender. He can shoot. But I just don't think I don't think New Orleans is going to get healthy enough in time to make a serious push for it because they haven't been healthy all year. Why should we think that they're going to suddenly all get back on the court just in time? And then Phoenix, I had Phoenix in the playoffs at the beginning of the year, but they didn't improve over the off season like I thought they would have. They're basically in the same position they were last season. They traded away Dragic. They did all that moving around at the deadline, getting Brandon Knight, moving Plumlee. And I think that Phoenix is. I think they're done for the year. I don't see them making it because they were so guard centered and they've severely downgraded. Yeah, I like Brandon Knight and Eric Bledsoe, but they got rid of Thomas and Dragic. I don't think Phoenix has any chance. I think it'll come down to Oklahoma City and New Orleans, and I think Oklahoma City hangs on to it.
But do they want to hold on to it? I mean, with Kevin Durant, though, with foot injuries. Like, look what happened with Yao Ming. Look what happened with certain players like that. Do they really want to make an 8th seed and possibly even get there? Because there's not a 100% chance that Kevin Durant stays healthy. Why not, save him? Wait till next year. I mean, even if you're the 8th seed, you're going to be going up against Golden State. Do they really want to go against that game? I have Memphis coming out of the West. I mean, I honestly do. The way they bruise and the way the inside and still hit the outside shots with Jeff Green there and Vince Carter coming off the bench, and Tony Allen being that grinder off the bench as well. Defensively, I mean, offensive defense, I mean, I don't see why Oklahoma City would really want to make the playoffs, at least with New Orleans. That's like something they can put like on their wall, like as a plaque of pride that they made that 8th seed. They're making to get better. Who cares if they get pushed out of the first round? At least they made it. With Oklahoma City, why not lose and try and find a way to get in that lottery pick? And we'll get into tanking a little bit later. But Alex, what do you think about that? Do you really think Oklahoma City should fight to get that 8th playoff spot? And who do you think is going to make it if you don't think it's OKC?
Yeah, it's got to be OKC. That's the only. They have like a 95% chance of making it. The Pelicans have a bunch of games versus teams over 500. It's, Anthony Davis could get hurt again. Who knows? Kevin Durant could get hurt again also. Who knows about that? But if you're OKC, you definitely want to make the playoffs. You definitely want to go up to Golden State. I mean, look what happened a few years ago when Oklahoma City was the first seed and they ended up losing to Memphis. So I definitely, the talent on that roster doesn't nearly define that record. And even though you're going up against pretty much the best team in the league right now, you got to feel good about having Westbrook, having Durant, having Ibaka, having like an amazing bench now. You have Deion Waiters off the bench, Enes Kanter whenever Steven Adams comes back, Kyle Singler. I mean, these are all, even DJ Augustin, those are players that they did not have before. And now that they have a bench, they can finally hopefully get over the hump of, not having a bench after James Harden went to Houston. But yeah, if I'm Oklahoma City, I'm telling my team that we're making the playoffs, we're going up against Golden State, and to, get prepared for that.
For me, like I just said, I don't see why. I mean, I understand they want to make the playoffs, they want to have a chance to go into April, but that's all hoping. Like, you can't go far without Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant he still has no timetable to return. They're hoping he can return within a week, but they've been saying that for the last 2 weeks. So I mean, is it really something that they really want to fight for, and risk the fact of Kevin Durant being injured again just because they can get to winning the first round, maybe winning the second round, but then losing in the Western Conference? I seriously do not see them making it out of the West, and I think they know realistically they can't make it out of the West. Enes Kanter was great offensively. He's still no defensive presence, so you're putting Serge Ibaka in the whole backcourt by himself playing defense. DJ Augustine's nice. Kyle Singler's, I guess, decent off the bench, but they really just need to build cohesiveness. I just think it's all on to Kevin Durant. I think Anthony Davis can stay healthy for the rest of the season. I think he wants to make the playoffs just as the rest of anybody else in the Western Conference. I think he's fighting for it. I think he wants to prove that he should be even in the talks for MVP, and we'll even get to that later on in the show. So, like I said, I think OKC, I'm not going to say they should tank, but I really don't see why they should be fighting so hard to be an 8th seed going into the West. And that's just my personal thought. I mean, fans, you can hit us up on Twitter. I'm at VM Center. What's your guys' Twitter handles? I don't even remember off the top of my head.
I'm at Renfro Connor.
Renfro Connor, and then Alex is at Al Horvath, right?
It's actually at EL_DON_HORVITO. So that's to remember.
We will put the Twitter names in the description for sure. But yeah, like I said earlier too, I just think New Orleans would fight so much to be that 8th seed that it would be like something that they would treasure, something that they would really want. Where Oklahoma City, they've made it to the playoffs. They know what it takes to make it all the way to the finals. Don't they want to go there again with Kevin Durant? And I just think that you don't really know what's going to happen with Kevin Durant, but that's my personal thought. You guys leave your comments in the comment section below, and follow us on Twitter for sure. But like I said, I don't want them to tank, but there is definitely a tanking epidemic going on in the NBA. And, we've gotten suggestions from our Hound Sports crew to talk about this, so I definitely want to get your guys' thoughts on it. Alex, you can go ahead and go first on, Do you think it's good that the NBA is letting these teams tank, or that's a good idea for these teams to even tank, and do you want to see this in the NBA?
I mean, I think tanking is definitely a real thing. I don't know if I would use the word tanking. You could say losing on purpose or whatever word you want to use. But if you're a player, you don't want to lose. Like, the mentality you have that even got you to the NBA was winning. And as a player, you don't want to lose. I think this is a whole front office thing where you're management and you're like, and you set a goal for yourself and you're saying, okay, this season we're gonna get the 6 seed, 7 seed, 8 seed, and then 40 games in, you're 10-30. So as a GM, it's your responsibility to readjust to whatever happens, and you have to readjust your plans, your future plans. If you're in the mindset that you're gonna get a 6 seed and you have one of the worst records, the best thing to do for now would be to trade one of your players, get a future pick, and then hope the best for next year. But as a player, you definitely don't have a tanking mentality. You definitely have confidence in the team. I even think as a coach, you have the confidence that your team can match up with anybody, even if it's not the case. But you want your team to believe that it's definitely a front office thing. And it's developed as the season goes on. I don't think there's any team in the league, maybe the Sixers, but other than them, I don't think there's a team that starts off the year saying, all right, let's go lose a bunch of games so we can get a number 1 pick. It doesn't.
Not even Philadelphia?
Well, the way they draft went this year, I think they knew that they were going to tank with Embiid out and Dario Saric not coming for another 2 years. So it was hard to believe that they're not tanking, but 99% of the time you go into the year thinking that you're going to be successful as you set your standards to. So it just happens over time, really.
Hey Connor, so like a team like the Lakers where they have a top 5 protected pick, and if they don't make that top 5, their pick I believe goes to the Suns now.
Yes,
So I mean, yeah. So if that's the case, and you're the Lakers, are you considering tanking, especially for these last few games? You don't have Kobe. Your team is struggling. You're hoping on Jordan Clarkson right now to run the point guard position with Jeremy Lin. So I mean, do you consider those teams tanking? Like, just give me your thoughts on certain teams that are tanking right now that probably should be, but they're not really admitting that they're doing it, and your thoughts on tanking in general.
Okay, well, yeah, the Lakers are they're an interesting case because they have most teams when they start losing, they just go into full tank mode, and we all know that. But they've held on to Kobe through all this, and that's uncharacteristic of a team like that to hold on to their veteran stars. But yeah, he's out. They have some. It's really unfortunate that Julius Randle got hurt because this would be a great time for him to really get meaningful minutes and to really learn the ropes. But yeah, they have some. Jordan Clarkson's really their only prospect, I guess, that's on the roster. So I think their tanking isn't quite as blatant as other teams, because I mean they still compete every night, even though they lose most of the time. They play they play hard. They have veteran guys that obviously have no interest in tanking, like Carlos Boozer, and and they haven't started just trading away their assets yet. So I don't really think the Lakers are tanking. I just think they're not a very good team. But I think tanking is good from a front office standpoint. But I mean, as a fan, do I want to see it in the game? Absolutely not. But it's become almost a necessity because of the way the rest of the teams are, the way teams rebuild now, which is trade away all your assets for some picks and just start losing. And it's almost impossible to really build unless you tank in the way it is now. I mean, obviously there are exceptions to that. I mean, look at Atlanta. They didn't tank. It worked out pretty well for them. But I don't think tanking is think tanking is a bad thing for the entertainment value and for the fans and for the players. But as far as the long-term idea goes, the front office standpoint, I think it's a good thing from that perspective. But do I want to see it in the game? No. I wish that the league could really do something about that. But I guess the owners have spoken. They voted on the, can't remember the rule, but they voted on an anti-tanking rule last offseason, and the owners shot it down. So I guess we know where the owners stand on it now.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, just to build in the NBA, you have to find a way to make your roster better. And I think the only team that's really doing tanking correctly while also keeping their assets or trading away their assets is Boston. They're trying to get younger, and look at the assets that they got for trading away Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett to Brooklyn. They have so many picks, and now they're battling for an 8th seed. Like that's crazy to think about. That they have a chance to get Jahlil Okafor or whatever and still be in the playoffs just because of who they have and what picks they have. And going into first and second round now in the NBA is a big thing. You want second round picks just as much as you want first round picks. My only thing is I don't understand why, like you talk to like people around NBA circles or people that are really into the NBA why they see it as a problem. I certainly don't. I just think of it as, if it's your team, you're building for the future. If it's an opposing team and you're watching it, hey, it could be an easy win. That's what I think of it as. I mean, you're gonna see it in the NBA. You can't get penalized for it because, it's just the general manager doing what they feel is right, and they're just telling the coach, hey, if you lose this one, it's okay. For rookies, they get to build on their talent. Like I said, like you did in Philadelphia, you got MCW now going into a playoff team in Milwaukee. What's his name? Kinky or Minky or whatever his name is in Philadelphia, the GM there. The way he's building and the way he's, choreographing this team, it's going to let him keep his job for like the next 5 to 10 years. Just because of the way he's getting in assets, making them better, and trading them away for more assets. So, is it tanking? Yes. Is it bad for the NBA? I say no. Is it terrible to watch? Definitely, but good thing I have SportsCenter, NBA TV, and hopefully a lot of people out there have NBA League Pass so they can just watch a different game. But all right, guys, we're getting to the show where we're going to start talking about the MVP race. You got LeBron James, who arguably is the best player in the NBA right now. You have James Harden. You have Stephen Curry. Who is your MVP choice? Alex, you can go ahead and go first.
I still don't have an answer. If you had to throw me off a cliff, if I had to choose one, I probably would have to go with Steph Curry because his team owns the best record in the NBA. He is the best player on the team, obviously, and he is the best point guard in the league, arguably. You see a lot of highlights. Like, every time you watch NBA Top 10, SportsCenter Top 10, there's a good chance that he's going to be on there once or twice. He has a lot of flashy plays. He's not like a raging dunker like Westbrook or LeBron, but he has a lot of nice crossovers. He breaks a lot of ankles, makes everybody turn around, hits you a three-pointer behind the back. It's just everybody loves that. It's fun to watch. Kids love it, adults love it, and he's just the all-around. He's got it all. He can shoot. He can pass. He can, he's a good rebounder for his size. He's a good defender, and he's a good slasher. So there's nothing really wrong with his game. He's averaging 2 steals. He's averaging about 23 points, 8 assists. I don't know how many rebounds.
And he's a splash brother.
And he's a splash brother. You can't. There's no stopping him really. If you take away his 3-pointer, he'll just drive. If you take away his driving, he'll just shoot. And if you take away both, it makes his team better.
He'll get you with the pass.
Yeah, that's a good reason why Klay Thompson is successful. That's a good reason why Draymond Green is successful. Because you have Steph Curry passing you the ball, making it easier for you. And, Harden, it would be my other choice, but, I don't think that I don't think that the NBA is going to give him the MVP, even though, you can't go wrong with either of those choices. Harden's having a career high in every stat. He's getting more points, getting more rebounds, more assists. He's even playing defense now. Like, I've been watching Shaq and the Fool a lot, and I haven't really seen him on there. Like, last year, you could catch him a good 6, 7 times. He would just stay frozen on defense like Otto Porter did a couple weeks ago. Like, just ran right past him. Yeah, you don't really see that with Harden anymore, but if I had to pick, it would be Curry.
No, you'll just see him on Shaq and the Fool for kicking LeBron James in the nuts. So, Connor, what about you? Who's your choice?
I'm going to go with James Harden, but I think I agree with Alex. I think him or Curry would be a great choice, but I think Curry will win it. But if I had to pick, it would be Harden. He's leading the league in scoring, shooting a fairly good percentage. His offensive game, we all knew his offensive game was pretty complete. I mean, he can shoot, he can drive, he can get to the line, he can finish. But I think what really put him over the top was the improvement in defense. Because last year before, even in Oklahoma City, he couldn't stop anybody. Now he's not necessarily getting steals. Obviously not blocking shots, but he's playing good on ball defense. He's not getting beat off the ball either. And so I think that's that he really took another step, took his game to another level because he improved so much defensively.
Yeah, definitely.
Now with Curry, I was pleasantly surprised to see that he's cut down on the turnovers pretty drastically this year. But I mean,
gun to your head, who's your MVP?
Harden.
Yeah, see, I have to agree with you, and I agree with Kenny the Jet Smith too on Inside the NBA. He said Stephen Curry is the best player to watch right now. LeBron James is the best in the NBA, but as an MVP who's guiding their team right now in the NBA is James Harden. I have to agree with you. I have James Harden as the MVP. He's doing it with a supporting cast that's, if without him, they would lose. He has no more Dwight Howard. We don't know when he's going to return or if he even is going to return this season. And they're still holding on to, I believe, the 4th seed right now. So, I mean, for where they are, for what Harden has improved on, I think he is your MVP and what he can do with the ball, getting the fouls. He still makes – I mean, even his shots lead to plays for his team. Just because of the way he shoots the ball, his team has a better chance of getting the rebound. That's completely different type of stats, but you can look it up on ESPN, and that is a true fact. The way he shoots the ball makes his team better. That's just crazy to think about. And I bet you, Steph Curry is the same way. I just remember seeing that Harden, the way he shoots the ball, makes the team better than anybody else in the league. So, I mean, he's clutch. The way he hits his shots now, the way he plays defense, like Alex said, has grown a ton from the past 2 seasons. And with Steph Curry, he is fun to watch. He is definitely fun to watch. Just even today against the Clippers, the way he dribbled between 3 defenders, shot a 3, and still made it switch to go in. It's nice to see. He's definitely the best player to watch in the NBA right now. But if he was off of his team, they would still be a playoff team. The way Draymond Green plays defense, the way Klay Thompson can still hit his shots, you have David Lee, Andre Iguodala, Andrew Bogut. I mean, that's still a playoff team in my eyes. And if you take James Harden out of – if he gets injured, that team's done. Who's going to lead that team? Patrick Beverley? Terrence Jones? Donteus Montejunas? Yeah, no name that you throw out there. Josh Smith, it's not going to happen. So that's why I have him as my MVP. But I want to ask both of you guys, dark horse, is Russell Westbrook, Russell Westbrook considered an MVP right now for what he's done, the 4 triple-doubles and the way he's putting up numbers without Kevin Durant? Should he be considered MVP right now? Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, definitely. This guy is a raging demon. One day he's getting 40 points. The next day he's getting a triple-double. The day after that he's getting 40 points and a triple-double. So it's really hard not to put him in the conversation. The only reason you wouldn't put him in the conversation is because, right now most of the teams have already gotten or are really close to getting a playoff berth, and Oklahoma City is still at that bottom, hopefully getting the 8th seed. But I don't really know how many MVPs, if any, have been in the playoffs with as an 8th seed. So that's just something to consider. But by the way he's playing, he's just out there, with no mercy. He's playing like a raging bull, and it's not like he's shooting 40 shots a game. I mean, yeah, he is, but 45% field goal percentage. That's really nothing to laugh about. That's a respectable number, even though he's shooting a lot. But he kind of has to, with Durant not being able to take shots. Who else are you going to go to that can create their own shot besides Westbrook? Durant's not there, so I mean, you could give it to Ibaka for a 3 or give it to him in the post. And you have Dion Waiters. He can create his own shot, but not as well as Westbrook or Durant. But yeah, he's definitely a dark horse, but it's hard to consider him.
Connor, would you roll over in shock if Russell Westbrook won MVP?
No, absolutely not. I think he's, if he wins it, it'll be well deserved. I don't think anyone could say that they necessarily deserved it more or worked harder than him, because he's just tearing everything up. He's carrying that team. He's single-handedly keeping them in playoff contention right now without Durant. And yeah, so I think he's a very viable option for MVP. And I would be all right with it if he won. I don't think he could.
Let me ask you this: do you see a good chance of both he and Durant finally splitting and going their separate ways? Maybe Kevin Durant. There was rumors of him wanting to go to Washington, or Russell Westbrook going after that max deal and leaving OKC. Is there a good chance of that happening, or do you think they would put their pride on to the side and stick with OKC?
I wouldn't be surprised if one of them left. I think maybe the city, it kind of be like, all right, this team's not big enough for both of us, and I think one of them might leave. I wouldn't be surprised if Durant actually stays, and in a couple years, and Westbrook does like you just said, and goes out and seeks a max deal, and seeks to be be the guy on a team. Now where he would go, I don't know. But obviously almost every team in the league would be after him.
What about you, Alex? Could you see a time sooner rather than later where the dynamic duo of Westbrook and Durant be separated soon?
Sure. I mean, if they don't have one of those rings on their fingers, it's more than likely that one of them, if not both, will try to find that somewhere else. I mean, you're looking at Westbrook and Durant, and whenever you hear the media criticize Westbrook, you're always hearing Durant defending him. And it's the same for Durant. Whenever you hear the media criticizing Durant, you always have Westbrook to defend him. So they have like a really close relationship. It's like a LeBron, Dwayne Wade relationship, like a Kobe Shaq relationship before Shaq went to Miami, of course, but they're really close. I don't think that if they end up winning one championship, at the very least, they'll most likely stay. It's a 99% chance that they'll stay. If by the time their contract is up, they haven't even made it back to the finals, then it's more likely than not that one of them is going to end up leaving. And when LeBron went back home, a week after that, you started hearing rumors about, Durant's going to go back home to Washington. Westbrook's going to go back home to L.A. And, just rumors like that are nuts. But I don't necessarily believe that they'll go to those respective teams. But, I can see them staying if they are successful.
Do you think it could just be a coaching problem? I mean, there's rumors that Scotty Brooks could possibly, have his last year this year. The front office and him don't see, complete eye to eye, just like Tom Thibodeau in Chicago. I mean, could it just be a coaching problem? I mean, could you possibly see Scotty Brooks getting fired at the end of the season and then bringing in someone new, or do you think they're going to ride it out? I think they have one more season altogether. Personally, I wouldn't die in shock die in shock, but I would be completely surprised if Westbrook won MVP. Just to answer the previous question, but I mean, is it just a coaching problem for them right now in OKC, or is it just health and now they didn't have a supporting cast and now they do, and that's why they really want to get that eighth seed, like we were talking about earlier in the show? I mean, I just want to get your thoughts on Scott Brooks and if that's really a good fit in Oklahoma City.
It's definitely, it could be a coach thing. It's also an injury thing. It could be a combination of both of those. It's definitely not a front office thing where you don't have the right players because, look what they did over the trade deadline. They ended up getting rid of Kendrick Perkins, and now they got Enes Kanter. They ended up getting rid of Reggie Jackson, and now they have DJ Augustin, Kyle Singler, Stephen Oback. So, I think the front office is doing what they can. They're doing everything in their power that they can. I'm not sure that I would necessarily blame this on Scott Brooks because, you did have the injury problem, and he's a very successful regular season coach with Westbrook and Durant when they are healthy. But, at times, I've watched games that sometimes, it just feels like Westbrook or Durant has the ball, and, if they can't get a shot, they pass it out. So, I don't – there's a lot of criticism that goes onto him that I believe is accurate, and there's a lot that I don't believe is accurate. Some of them, it's like Twitter saying that, he can't coach. But when you look at his record, that's obviously a lie. But at times, I do feel like he'll just pass the torch to Westbrook or Durant, and hopefully, they can get their points, and hopefully they can get their stops.
Connor?
I think if you'd asked me this a couple of weeks ago before the trade deadline, I would have said, well, no, it's not Scott Brooks' fault. It's look at the team besides Westbrook and Durant. But now if they don't, I don't think he'll be fired after this year. But I think next season, if they're all healthy, they have the lineup that they're looking like they're probably going to have next year, and they're still obviously. I think we all agree that if they're healthy next year, they're not going to be fighting for an 8 spot. They're going to be at the top of the West. But if they don't make some noise in the playoffs next year, and the team's healthy, I could see Scott Brooks getting fired. I don't think he's a bad fit there. He preaches defense, and I think that fits them well because they have players that the offense will take care of itself. So I don't think it's a bad fit, but I do think he's not on the hot seat yet, but he's getting there.
Oh no, he's definitely on the hot seat. I see him on the hot seat. I mean, he hasn't made it to the finals since James Harden left. He with the team that they have with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, he makes coaching decisions that could be called questionable. Like, why do you take out Westbrook and Durant at the same time when you know for a fact Serge Ibaka can't create his own shots? And with the bench before what they had right now, they didn't really have anyone that's going to really guide them. Reggie Jackson, he filled in nicely at the point guard position, but he's not considered a passing point guard that can set up Serge Ibaka. So you're kind of hoping on him to do something and also hoping that Serge Ibaka can stay on the floor by himself, but then you leave him on the floor for too long, then you take Ibaka out and you have no defensive presence on the inside. So those are questionable things that he does. I agree with you. I do not think that, Scotty Brooks get fired this year. I keep calling him Scotty Brooks. I should call him Coach Brooks, but I like calling him Scotty Brooks. That's just like a personal thing for me. But I don't think he gets fired this year. However, if Tom Thibodeau gets fired, I think there's a chance. I think there's a strong chance that OKC would consider firing Scott Brooks just to bring in Tom Thibodeau. And would you guys agree with that?
That's interesting. I haven't heard that one before. Yeah, I would. I could see Thibodeau in Oklahoma City. I think Thibodeau is. I think he's out in Chicago unless they win a championship or something.
No, he's out. I agree. He's out.
Yeah, but because there's been friction with him in the front office for so long, I think he's out. I think that's a mistake. That'll be a mistake for Chicago if they do fire him, which I think is the prevailing thought that they will, because I think he's an excellent coach. But I could see him in Oklahoma City. He's a little more flexible with the way he wants his team to play than Scott Brooks. In that, Scott Brooks has been trying to replicate the finals team that they had ever since, once Harden left. They had Kevin Martin kind of filling that role. Once he left, they pursued Darrell Wright. Obviously, Darrell Wright went to Portland, but he's been trying to have that defensive-minded two guard, and then an offensive spark off the bench. And at a certain point, you have to be flexible, and you have to kind of say, all right, this doesn't work anymore. Let's move on. Let's try something else. And he doesn't seem to want to do that. But I think Thibodeau obviously is a great defensive coach, but and like I said earlier, I think offense to a certain point take care of itself in Oklahoma City, as long as Westbrook and Durant are there. So yeah, I could see Thibodeau there. I think that'd be a very good pairing.
Definitely. All right, guys. Well, we've actually run out of time on this show, so I want everyone to just kind of go around the table right here. We'll start with you, Alex. Just tell people where they can find you online and what you're working on right now for Hound Sports.
You can find me at houndsports.com. If you go to the Orlando Magic section, you'll see a bunch of my stuff there. Working on a couple Brooklyn Nets articles there. It's kind of like my secondary. You can find me on Twitter at @LDonHorvath, but it'll be in the description, so won't make it too hard.
All right, Connor, your turn.
Got it.
All right. You can find me on Twitter at Renfro Connor. Obviously, it'll be in the description. But go to the Charlotte Hornets page on Hound Sports. You'll see my stuff there. Also, I've been starting to get into the Atlanta Hawks. I wrote up a piece about the Dominic Wilkins statue ceremony, so go check that out. It was an honor to be there. And all right, yeah, that's where you can find me.
All right, guys, and you guys can find me on Twitter. I'm at VM Center. You guys can also find me on houndsports.com. I'm under the Sacramento Kings section. I also write for fansided.com and goldengatesports.com covering the Sacramento Kings and the Golden State Warriors. You can find me on there as well. I also do the show called The Kings Court here on YouTube. Definitely type that in, look it up. So become a subscriber. Subscribe to this show, the NBA Hounds Podcast, and also go check out my website, sackingsnation.com. And for all of your NBA news, definitely go to houndsports.com. We're growing. We're vastly improving, and we're even going to start going on Bleacher Report, so definitely keep your eye out looking for us. If you have any comments, leave them in the comment section below, good or bad, if you agree with us, if you don't. And until next time, NBA fans, this is the NBA Hounds Podcast. Bye-bye.